everyone. Welcome to Switchblade Sisters Social Club, the true crime podcast where two friends exploit their worst fears for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
I'm Dee, a writer and podcaster.
And I'm Isla from Criminally Good Books, a true crime and crime fiction bookshop in York.
Follow us on all the socials.
Except for X, obviously.
Or have a look at our website, switchbladesisterssocialclub.com.
Check them out for all our latest episodes, events, deals, and other weird stuff.
Listeners' discretion advised.
Hello, you. You look so cute as always.
I am melting. Are you melting?
I know, it's so hot, right? It's so warm.
So hot. I want to apologize in advance because I have had a difficult day. I feel like we talk a lot about Palestine, and I want everyone to know I talk about Palestine a fraction of the amount that it's on my mind. It's really hard to not think about anything else. But I just, in one of my other day jobs, I work for, as you know, the Britain-Palestine Project. I just hosted a webinar on mental health for children and babies in Gaza. And it was honestly one of the hardest webinars. I mean, we covered, you can imagine, every topic under the sun. They're all difficult. It's all difficult. But this one was really hard. I had anxiety in advance. And I know a lot of people have this in their different professions and different causes they're passionate about. And I think we as women are harder on ourselves with this about showing emotion in a professional environment, right? Because we feel like we're going to get judged for being too sensitive. Yeah. Was really struggling because even just reading the resources, like this woman, Teresa Bailey, I'll give her a shout out. She is amazing. She's a psychotherapist who runs the mental health professionals for Gaza. She did a talk for us and she sent me the slides. And even just looking at the slides, I was crying. I cried 3 times in the practice session. Like, it was just so much because, you know, the reason why I wanted to do that podcast, that webinar, and it comes out as a podcast on all the platforms, is because I just feel like with the issue with children, it's even harder to argue, isn't it? Like,
what's the argument, Dee? What's the argument?
Well, the really extreme right Zionist argument is that all of our kids are baby terrorists and snakes. That's literally what we've been called in the Knesset by some horrible, horrible members. But it's really hard to argue, regardless of what you think it should be. 1 state, 2 state, there should be no Palestine. It's very hard to argue the atrocities that are being committed against fucking babies, right? Exactly. So this one was a lot. And I even started the webinar with a disclaimer. I was like, both of us are really struggling with this. So you have to give us a little leeway. But I kind of got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. If I show a bit of emotion, sue me. Because I don't ever want to get to a point where I'm so desensitized that I can talk about this day in, day out. And about these, especially with like babies. I don't even like babies that much. That I can talk about it without being affected. Some questions that were collated by the staff of the Palestine Trauma Center and UK branch. Really amazing organization. If you want to give money, that's one of them that you should consider. But I read 3 of these questions that fucking broke down. So I'm not going to read all of them, but these are questions that children have asked. And when I read this, I thought there are words in these questions that children of this age shouldn't even know, let alone be concerned about. After we die, will I hear your voice? When I die, will they put me in a grave with my mom and dad? When it rains, will we drown in the tent? When they bomb the tent, will we burn? I mean, it just goes on, you know? When a missile hits us, do we feel pain or do we die immediately? I don't want to die in pieces.
I mean,
it just goes on. Horrible. That's like the first couple. So yeah, I really struggled with today. I struggled in the run up. And then the entire time I was just like bawling. And everyone in the chat box was going crazy. Like, this is like the hardest thing I've ever had to listen to, whatever. And it's like, yeah, it is. So you can catch that podcast on any of the podcast platforms as well. But this one was just so tough. Like, one of my friends said, "Oh, I'm going to listen to it on the train," and I was like, "Don't listen to it on the train."
I can't imagine listening to it.
If you want to break down on a train, fine. But like, yeah, it was really tough. It was really tough. She was talking about prenatal stress, you know, on
which
the,
people get anyway in this country. Like, I can't
of
imagine what
course,
it's going to be like in a war zone.
and how prenatal stress can affect the personality
Yeah,
of children after they're born. I was just like, and she was, one of the questions was, is there any hope of reversing this trauma? And she's like, yeah, but you need to be in a safe space to reverse trauma. You
yeah,
can't be in that same environment and heal from being in that environment. So basically, what I understand from that is the only hope for these kids is that we find a way of having peace fucking immediately. And even then, it's a long road, but we have no chance unless we get some kind of peace. So hopefully, everyone's on board, regardless of where they stand politically, with coming to some kind of agreement where we're not killing and starving and torturing and
children.
maiming children,
I know it's so bad. I feel really privileged when I like watch TV and and
That's
you
good. It's good to have privilege and appreciate it,
yeah,
you
and then you
know?
appreciate it, but it's then when I have to admit that I've actually had to switch my social media off. Something like I just cannot look at anymore
You know that that is an element of your privilege.
because like, I've got choice and I can switch it off.
You can have moments, and you should, for your mental health, you should be able to switch those trauma, those dramatic
Definitely.
things off.
Aaron says to me, he's like, put your phone down. Put your phone down, Isla. You cannot do this anymore. And I'm like, it's like midnight and I'm still scrolling through stuff.
The issue is not whether you should have more trauma in your life. The issue is that these people should have less trauma. It's not that you shouldn't take advantage of your opportunities because you're living in privilege. It's that everyone else should also have those chances. That's the difference. And that's something I struggle with, being Palestinian and living in like fucking awesome life in London or whatever in comparison. There's a lot of survivor's guilt. Talking to you about transfer trauma that a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of the
yeah.
people that work in the industry get from having to deal with all of this. But the fact is, we should carry on living fucking awesome lives and be also at the same time doing what we can to make sure that everyone else has the same awesome life that we have, not dimming our
Exactly.
light, you know?
Do you know what I would love to
Um,
do? I would love to do something with the Murder Most Irish girls because
mm.
they are so pro-Palestinian and they're so funny and we've been to see them in
And we
Dublin.
love
We
them. And I've
love
done a
them.
lot of work with different organizations in Ireland that have worked on this issue.
Mm,
Obviously, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities in the conflict. And we just generally love Irish people, Republic
we love
and
them.
Northern.
We
We
love
love
them.
you.
We love the Irish.
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, we love the general Celts, right? I went to
Yes,
Cornwall
definitely.
this weekend, love the Cornish people, love the Scottish people. I'm going up to Scotland. This episode is probably coming out when I'm going out to Scotland. I'm going to Beyond Borders Festival
Where's
in the
that?
capacity. Oh my God, it's in Peebles. I don't know where Peebles is, but it's so cute, that name.
People.
Traquair, apparently it's like the oldest stately home still in private use or whatever. And like 27 kings and queens have been there. And they host this Beyond Borders festival,
Okay.
which is like a lot of international issues and so forth. And we're doing screenings and so forth. And then we're hoping to go to Glasgow as well. I'm trying to arrange some
Maybe I'll
screenings.
come. We'll chat about
Well,
it
I will let
afterwards.
you
Maybe I
know.
can come. No,
I would love it.
that'd be
We're
so
gonna
fun.
be seeing Mary Claire. Hello, Mary Claire. We love you
We
too.
love MC.
And I'm going with my dad, Papa Safier.
Oh, I love Papa Saps.
I'm gonna do a complete about turn, right? We talked on a recent episode about the hot take that soya milk is the
Oh yeah.
worst milk alternative
Yeah.
because it does not taste nice in cereal. It does not taste nice in coffee. It does not taste nice in tea. And so we said we would do a little poll,
Hmm.
and we've done a poll. And I want to read the results of the poll.
What's the worst milk alternative? Is that that
Yes,
was a
of
question,
course.
wasn't it? Or
Worst milk alternative? Question mark. The options were soya, oat, pea sprout, other, because you don't have very many options. And I just want to say 60% agree with me that soya milk is the worst one, followed by a very distant second, oat milk. And I'm guessing
oh, it's the only one that I like.
but I'm guessing that's tea drinkers. Do you use oat milk in tea?
No, of course you don't.
Yeah, no, it's not nice in tea. It's nice in coffee. I think the other was almond milk. And I love almond milk in a coffee because it makes it taste like a nice flavored coffee, but it is disgusting in tea. So I think it does kind of depend what you're using the milk alternative for, let's say.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
true.
soya milk can fuck right off. I did have one person ask, are we talking about impact on the planet or taste?
Oh
And I was
God.
like, I was superficially just going for
That's
taste.
a different question.
Yeah, because I think soya milk might be the best one. It's definitely the best one for protein. I don't know about its impact on the planet. I'll have a bit more respect for it if it's higher up on that list, but
Who
I still
knows?
don't I don't want to put it on my body. Yeah, so I thought I'd lighten the load a bit with some milk alternative chat.
We don't put anything nasty in our body. Like we don't even drink alcohol, do we, Dee?
Should say that this is the first time Isla and I recording of an evening when we can have wine. And I've just told you about my day, so I needed the wine. This is medicinal. But Isla can also join me in some wine. And she
It
just
was just
revealed
really
to me,
hot today. It's just really hot. When you said that you'd wine already, I contacted Deliveroo and I was like, send me 2 bottles of wine.
I like how you're like, Deliveroo, 2 bottles,
Hello,
stat.
Deliveroo. Yeah, exactly. And then I got the
Yeah.
2 bottles, set myself up. I'm all ready to go. Bag of ice at
Uh,
my feet.
you confess, though, that you did not eat any solids, though. So this will get fun, especially because you're presenting to me
I
today.
am, and I'm so I have to stop saying I'm so excited. When I listen to myself back, I want to just hurt myself. I keep saying I'm so excited. I am very keen to tell you my story today.
Are you going to tell me what the story is, or are you going to give me clues?
I'm going to give you clues. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not stupid. I'm going to give
Okay.
you lots of clues. I've got quite a long introduction clue wise.
Okay.
So sit back, pay attention, make sure your glass is filled because I was still researching this in the early hours of this morning, and there is so much more stuff which we'll put in the show notes, won't we? And like all the links,
Mhm.
but there is so much in this case.
Oh my God. Do you think I know this case?
I think you will know of it, but I don't know if you'll know all the detail.
Well, probably not, because even when I cover a case, I forget everything instantly. So
Okay, here we go. Do you have your drink to hand? Are you all filled up? Are you ready? Good stuff. Okay, so I want to share this story with you because it's really disturbing and it terrifies me, particularly because of the method of the killing. So I promise you, Dee, I will not always do historical ones. I promise I will do a more modern day one in future, but this is another historical one.
I love historical ones.
Okay, that's fine then. I'm good. I'm glad you like historical ones. But it really upset me once again. It's like my previous one. It's about life insurance, but also about selfishness and a complete disregard for human life for financial gain.
I mean, most murders are quite selfish.
Yeah, but this one is like life insurance again, but really, really horrific.
Okay.
But it's also a case where clever use of forensic pathology caught the perpetrator, and it was a landmark case in British legal history. Any ideas yet?
No, but I just love
Okay.
forensics, so I'm in.
Okay. So I'm going to give you some clues. I'm loving that you don't know this yet. I'm loving it because you know everything about true crime. Okay. So let me give you some clues. So think Lonely Hearts ads, Edwardian England, and warm baths. No? I
No.
was so sure you would know this one. I'm going
Warm
to tell you the
baths.
story. I'm going to tell you about the brides and the bath murderer.
Oh, yes, tell me. You
Tell
were
me,
right.
tell me. Okay.
I've heard of this one. I know very little about it.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to do my sources and then we're just going to kick off. So, my sources are Scotland Yard, A Bloody History by Simon Reed, Murderpedia, obviously, loads of Wikipedia stuff. I've read a lot of newspaper articles of the time. So, we're basically looking at local papers and national papers from July 1912 right through to July 1915.
And I just, to get into that zone, to get into that era, we are talking about just before and just at the beginning of World War One.
This is what I'm about to tell you. But
Oh,
you're
okay,
exactly
sorry.
right. No, you're
Yeah.
you're you're so clever. So I'll give you a bit of background about the time period. So the Edwardian period is between 1901 right up until the start of World War I in 1914. It was a time of great contrast. There was loads of opulence, particularly for the upper classes, but poverty was rife amongst the working class.
So like today.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I was just thinking, like, it's a Britain of two halves.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
except one half is 1% of the population.
exactly.
Anyway.
And 99% of the population play croquet.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm always playing croquet. I'm in the middle of a game now.
I would love to try it. I mean, I don't know. I've seen people.
Let me tell you, you do not have the attention span for croquet. You hit the ball once. I don't even know if they call it a ball. I don't know if they call it a stick. Whatever. You would do it one or two times and you'd be like, do you know what? I'm fucking bored. Let me go get some fucking wine.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what the aristocracy did that you don't want to take part in because it doesn't involve wine.
Okay.
So they enjoyed actually quite lavish lifestyles. They had country.
I mean, that I would happily do with them.
Definitely. I would. Country houses, leisure pursuits like horse riding, hunting, parties.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the industrial cities were expanding rapidly, massive overcrowding with housing, harsh working conditions, growing demands for social reform. At the same time, you've got women's suffrage. It's a fascinating part of the era's history. And you had in particular middle class and working women demanding equality. It was a period of scientific and medical advancement, which is particularly relevant in this case. In the second half of the 19th century, the population of England was growing really quickly. Okay, so we went from 16.8 million people in 1851, and this is relevant, to almost double, so like over 30 million within 50 years, so almost double within 50 years.
Well, sorry, was that immigration, birth rates, or both, do you think?
So I don't know if it was immigration or it was definitely birth rates. It was definitely birth rates.
And like survival rates of children, right?
Exactly. Survival rates. It was like there was no, like, it wasn't wartime. It was a reasonably, dare I say, safe time. But then you go from 1840 to 1930, and you saw net immigration, particularly of English people and particularly of men leaving the country. So, and that scaled back the population growth. You also had a situation where women were
all the seamen left.
All the seamen left.
Literally, the seamen with their semen.
Seamen with their semen, but it is relevant because you had women taking more control over like their sexual well-being and all of that kind of stuff.
Their income and all sorts, yeah.
Completely. And that's a big part of this as well.
Fuck off to the colonies, Englishmen, then.
Well, and this is what happened. So many young men were emigrating to what was known as the colonies. So you've got Australia, New Zealand, Canada, parts of Africa, and this left the female population at the time significantly outnumbering men.
That is called a taco party.
A taco party.
Which is, it's the opposite of a sausage fest.
Oh, I've not heard that term. Oh my God, that sounds gross.
I only know that term because I literally once had to Google what's the opposite of a sausage fest because I'm at one. Taco party.
Taco party. Interesting. Interesting.
So basically what you're saying is that at the turn of the century, England was a giant taco party. Men basically had the pick of
men
the litter.
They had left.
But the ones left had just an abundance of females to choose from.
And that's the point. That's the thing. Yeah. So supposedly, and I haven't actually found any evidence of this, supposedly newspapers were full of stories about women who could not find husbands. So for some women, you could see that it may be more difficult to like find a respectable man because a lot of them had actually immigrated, and many women of independent means that were respectable at the time would place like ads in discreet Lonely Hearts columns.
How are they discreet? Just at the back?
Well, just because it was like it was like nicer newspapers. It wasn't like smutty stuff. It was like newspapers. It wasn't like, you weren't meeting someone in a dance hall. You weren't meeting them like a
It's like
street corner.
how
You
you
met
go on
it.
Guardian
It was a
Soulmates.
respectable, yeah, it was a respectable way of finding a partner. And it
Mhm.
also was more respectable depending on the newspaper that you chose. I'm assuming whether it was like broadsheet or not.
Yeah, and trying to find someone who's politically aligned with you and stuff. I imagine that was also important
All that
in the
kind of
same
stuff.
financial bracket.
Well, in this case, that's not what happened. Our enemy in the story is a man. I'm not going to call him a gentleman. He's a man. He's a male. He's
Mm.
called George Joseph Smith, but he used several aliases. So he's a swindler, or he was a swindler, a bigamist, and an absolutely cruel human being in so many ways, Dee. It's just unreal. Smith was supposedly unremarkably looking. He was born in Bethnal Green in 1872. His father was an insurance agent. That comes into play. By the age of 9, he'd been sent to a reform school for thieving, and he left at
Mm.
16. Now, I think like a reform school is where they try and reform you. I mean, if you're 9, that must be really, really
Yeah, what
hard. A
happened to
9-year-old
him?
kid going there. He left this reform school age 16. A reform school, like back in the day, was an institution to which young offenders were sent as an alternative to prison. So it's like a young offenders institute. It just
Exactly.
sounds
It
like it's
still
just
sounds shit, doesn't
I
it?
can't imagine it's going to be particularly pleasant. But anyway, he was there until the age of 16. So he was born in 1872. In 1896, he was sentenced to 12 months in prison for persuading a woman to steal from her employers so that he could use the money to open a bakery.
That is not how I expected that
He
sentence to
wanted a
finish.
bakery. He got a girl to steal from employers. Anyway, he was sentenced to 12 months in prison for that. He was lazy. He was extremely arrogant. He would prowl the seafronts and parks in search of unsuspecting women who he could charm. So he's a complete shit at this stage, and he gets worse.
I mean, I already hate him.
You're going to hate him so much more, Day. So much more. So, one of the things that he had going for him that we've already discussed is that there were plenty of women available looking to marry, but he was only interested in those that had some money and independent means.
Which is fine if you also have some money and independent means.
But he didn't. He didn't have anything.
No.
He did not have a single penny, not even 2 pennies to rub together.
He's not saying, I want someone who's financially independent so they're not sponging off me because I'm financially independent. He's saying, I want someone who's got money so that I can sponge off them.
And so that I don't have to work and I don't have to do anything.
No,
Okay, like
not
he
cool with
didn't,
that.
he was lazy,
No.
he antagonized people, he was arrogant. There's lots of instances that a lot of like males of the like men of the time found him hugely arrogant and did not want to be around him.
This guy literally has only managed to do this because of the ratio of males to females at the time.
Correct. And he may well have been able to do it to some extent, but certainly he was able to get away with what he did because he was 30s,
But you said
40s.
he wasn't attractive and he wasn't charming. So you
No,
literally
I'm going to show you a picture. He was like charming. He would flirt with women. He would tell them what they needed to know. It'd be all lovely until he wasn't. One woman who encountered him recalled that when he looked at you, you had a feeling that you were being magnetized.
ugh.
He had little eyes that seemed to rob you of your will. I'll show you a picture of him in a minute. According to the father of one of his victims, he had eyes of a mad dog. So a bit of a difference of opinion there.
Actually, and that sounds hotter to me than the little eyes.
Do you want to see a picture of this guy before we move
Yeah,
on?
yeah. While you're doing that, I'm just going to tell everyone to go to our shop and buy our merch.
Oh, yeah. Right. Can you see this man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, actually, he's not as ugly as I thought he was going to be. I hate to say it,
for
but
people
I'm a
that can't see
sucker.
this,
I'm a sucker for a mustache.
he's got a big old mustache. And I mean, people say that his eyes were mesmerizing, but I'm not convinced. But anyway, what people said at the time, his eyes were what was drew people to him.
We will post a picture of him on our socials, but just so I can describe him, he had like a handlebar mustache and like a wavy quiff almost.
Yes.
He wasn't ugly.
No, and
If he
just
had
like
even
dark
a
eyes.
smallest bit of charm in there,
Yep, you
yeah.
can see why people would be interested in him potentially if he just wasn't a complete, if he was okay. Anyway, let's move on. His first and only, this is relevant, his first and only legal marriage was in 1898 to a bootmaker, not bookmaker, boot, B-O-O-T, boot, so made for walking, a bootmaker named Caroline Thornhill. She was aged just 18.
How old was he?
He was in his early 20s at this point. So Caroline thought that she was marrying a successful businessman called George Love.
Didn't we all think that?
We've all been there. Oh, George Love, where's my bakery? So she thought that she was marrying George Love, who owned a bakery, but that certainly wasn't the case. He was bankrupt and he forced Caroline to work as a maid, stealing jewelry and silver from her employers. They moved around working in London, Brighton, and Eastbourne, preying on the wealthy. Caroline was caught when a pawnbroker grew suspicious and reported her to the police, because obviously they were selling everything through this pawnbroker. She was arrested and she went to prison. I've seen conflicting reports. So she either went to prison for 3 months or a year. Anyway.
She probably got sentenced to a year and did 3 months, maybe.
Probably, exactly. But either way, it was her that served the time. Meanwhile, Smith just disappeared.
So this is a different... You said he went to prison for getting someone to...
So he went to prison. This is his MO. This is what he does.
Yeah.
He gets people to do things for him.
Question.
Yeah.
Does he even really want a bakery?
Who knows? I couldn't see
why he wanted a bakery. Is that just what he says? Because there's something about a bakery that makes you as a woman go,
oh, and do you serve coffee as well? And do you have books?
Sorry, cakes. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, he basically got this woman to steal and he was put away and he used the money to buy a bakery. But what he's doing with his wife now is he lured her in by saying that he owned a bakery, but he was actually bankrupt by this stage. So she thought she was marrying a successful businessman who owned a bakery, and he didn't.
How did she marry him without seeing the bakery? He must have just brought her to a random bakery and been like, yeah, this is mine.
Like, I think that we live in quite different times. Like back then, men were seen to be the more dominant sex. You wouldn't question. You wouldn't question anything necessarily. Yeah. Certainly not as much as you do now.
Just all the time, as you can see.
All the time. You know the saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, Caroline came out of prison and happened to see him just a day or two after her release. So she called the police. She testified against him. And he was given a prison sentence.
Well done.
So well done, Caroline. She stole stuff. She paid her time, but she got her revenge on him. However, he wasn't able to get his revenge on her because she immigrated shortly afterwards to Canada.
Nice.
But she comes back later on in the story.
Oh, good, good. I'm liking Caroline.
Yeah, we like Caroline. Right, I'm going to read some stuff on Wikipedia now because this is relevant. So he married several women and had relationships with women. I'm going to focus on 3 of those women, but I'm just going to run through what a piece of shit he is before he married the first significant lady. In June 1908, he married Florence Wilson. She was a widow from Worthing. On the 3rd of July, just a few weeks later, he left her, but not before taking her savings of £30, which was over £5,000 in today's money. So she was a widow, and that was her savings, and he just took it from her. He forced her to hand over her savings account, sold her belongings from the Camden Town residence that she had, and he just disappeared. In October 1909, he married, basically, he didn't marry because he's a bigamist. He married Sarah Freeman under the name George Rose Smith. As with previous women, he cleared out her savings selling her war bonds. I'm not quite sure what war bonds are, but I know something to do with
I
war.
don't know what normal bonds are, but yeah,
Nope.
sure.
And he took £400. Now, that is a lot of money back then. So let me just work that out. Hold on one second. He took £400, which was at the time.
Let me guess.
You just saying numbers.
650,000. No, I'm working off what you said before about 30 pounds being 5,000.
There we go.
650,000.
So it's £400, Dee. 400 and
Or maybe I mean, yeah, 650,000. I'm going to stick with my answer.
£40,000. So
I was way off.
You were way off. But he basically took £400 from this poor woman, her war bonds and her savings. Can you imagine that? That's just absolutely horrific. Took all that money from her, £40,000 equivalent. That's loads of money. Anyway, so he took all that money from her. Sorry, I've just logged into my bank account for some reason. I don't know what's happened. I've gone all over the place.
Has Aaron stole any of my money? My savings?
Has he taken my savings? Where's my money?
My £1.27. He's taken it.
Exactly. So these were two significant women that he stole from. They survived. He took a lot of money from them. They survived.
But they thought they were married to this man.
Correct. But he didn't. He just took their savings and left. Married another one. Took the savings, left. They don't know where this guy is. They think they're still married to him. Okay. And you know what it was like back then? You know, if you're married and then your husband leaves, like, would any other man want to be with you? It's completely different now. But you know what it was like back then if you were tainted or you were married or where's your husband?
But also, if your husband just disappears, how do you get a divorce? You don't know if they're dead.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So like legally, or in these people's mind, because they don't know that he's not legally married them in the first place, legally they're married, they can't. Like there's going to be some long drawn out legal process to to declare the divorce or whatever. Anyways, so I mean, he's just fucking causing them, at the very minimum, a lot of admin. At the very most,
he's very
poverty, mental health issues,
taking all the
stigma in society. Yeah, well,
I know, horrible guy. But this is where the cruelty intensifies. So we already know that he manipulates women. He takes their money. Bessie Monday. So in the summer of 1910, he was walking in Clifton in Bristol when he met Bessie Monday. Bessie was a well-dressed young woman in her 30s. She'd inherited £2,500 from her late father, who was a bank manager.
Okay, wait. I want to do maths. I'm going to say that's about £350,000.
You're so clever. Almost. Yeah.
Is it?
Almost, yeah. She inherited £2,500 from her late father. That's £375,000 in today's money. You can just imagine how excited Smith would be the prospect of getting his hands on that money, can't you? So he introduced himself. Remember, the aliases kicked in. He introduced himself as Henry Williams.
Oh, Henry Williams.
Henry Williams, a picture restorer from London.
A what from London?
A picture restorer.
Oh,
he
okay.
Pictures. Oh,
he's picking careers that are like, oh.
Yeah. I think careers that maybe people don't know about and you can't really invest in.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he is Henry Williams, a picture restorer from London. And I definitely do smell bullshit with that one. He persuaded Bessie to marry him just a few weeks later at a registry office in Weymouth.
I mean, Weymouth's nice.
Is it? And he's so cruel to her. So there was a problem. Smith couldn't get his hands on Bessie's money as it had been placed into the hands of trustees because her dad was fucking smart before he died, right? It's put in trustees. So he persuaded her to part with the cash that she had at the time, which was £150, That was the equivalent of over £22,000 that she just had lying around, that she can get her hands on immediately. She gave him that cash and he walked out on her saying that she had given him a sexually transmitted disease. He's a piece of work. And I've actually got the letter that he wrote to her telling her that she had given him VD.
He
So just
put it in a letter?
oh yeah, I've got the works here, Dee.
He
I've got
dumped
all
her
the
by text?
dumped her by text. Here we go. Are you ready?
No, but go.
1910 text dumping. Dearest, I feel that you have blighted all my hopes of a happy future. I have caught from you a disease, which is called the bad disorder. For you to be in such a state proves you could not keep yourself morally clean. I don't wish to say you have had connections with another man and caught it from him, but it is either that or through not keeping yourself clean. Can
Oh
you
my God.
imagine?
I mean, if I'm ever dumping anyone in the future, I'm using that letter word for
I
word,
mean,
but
it's in the
wow.
Scotland Yard book, page 272. It's all there for you. He's got several letters that you can use, Dee.
Templates for all occasions.
Templates. So basically, poor Bessie, he says to her, I'm leaving you, taking the money that you've got because you've given me an STI, which she had not given him, okay?
If he had one, he got it
He
elsewhere.
got it himself, he got it elsewhere. But sadly for Bessie, the story doesn't end there.
Oh,
So 18 months later, no doubt, when he'd spent that £22,000, Bessie spotted her husband, her bigamous husband, in Weston-super-Mare, and he'd already hatched a plan to get her inheritance. He told her that he realized the error of his ways and he'd been searching for her, wanting to reconcile the relationship. Bessie readily forgave him, and in May 1912, the couple moved to Herne in Kent. Immediately upon moving in together, Smith insisted that the couple draw up wills with Bessie making hers in his favour, and in less than a week she'd be dead. It gets even crueler before the death.
he can't even bear to let her live a little bit longer. Like 1 week seems really risky.
So you
Drop
basically
these.
tell your wife that she gave you an STI that she didn't because you couldn't get her inheritance. You take the cash that she's got that her dad presumably left her, £22,000. You leave her, you see her again. I mean, you write that horrible letter to her, and then she accepts you back.
Does she die? I mean, you already told me
Of course,
that.
she dies, Dee. She's not the only one. Of
Oh,
course, she
yeah, I
dies.
forgot.
Okay,
We're doing a
a
true
true
crime
crime
podcast.
podcast.
All
Okay,
right.
so they purchased a new cast iron bath for their home, which cruelly Smith asked Bessie to negotiate the price on so they could get it a bit cheaper. And this would actually be the instrument of her death. Okay.
Oh, cast iron bath sounds so
I know they
lovely.
do sound lovely. I want one of those.
I bet it had little feet.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. I'm sure I've got pictures somewhere I can show you. So Smith then persuaded her that she was suffering from epileptic fits and that she'd no memory of them afterwards. Now, obviously, she wasn't suffering from fits, but he made her, what's that
But
term?
gaslighting. How
Gaslighting.
fucking cruel. So he's
Yeah,
like, oh, don't you remember that epileptic fit you just had? Oh, you don't remember it? Oh, it's because you had
yeah,
an epileptic fit. Fuck,
yeah.
that is
So
intense.
within that week period, he convinced her that she was suffering from these fits. She'd no history of fits, okay? But on the Friday, July the 12th, she agreed to be examined by a local doctor and repeated to him the symptoms that Smith had described to her that he witnessed, okay? And what Smith was doing, he was trying to lay the foundations for what would follow, okay?
Oh, we know what he's doing.
We know what he's doing. So the very next morning, Dee, the doctor received a pencil written note from Smith saying, come at once, my wife is dead. The doctor arrived to find Bessie on her back in the bath, her face still partially submerged. Smith claimed that that was how he found her. The Kent Messenger at the time, on July the 20th, 1912, page 12, headlined Drowning in the Bath, Mysterious Death of a Young Wife. At the inquest, the coroner's jury returned this verdict: that the deceased was found drowned in a bath, but there is not sufficient evidence to show how she came to drown. So there were no signs of anything untoward. The inquest jury declared that Bessie had drowned after suffering a fit, clearing the way for Smith to inherit her fortune.
But it sounds like there was some doubt because they're talking about in the papers mysterious death.
I suppose it's like sensationalized. I think anything, if there's a death in the papers, like particularly at the time, maybe it's like mysterious. I mean, it would sell more papers, right? I mean, if it just said woman dies in bathtub, I mean, it'd be interesting, but mysterious death of young bride makes it sound way more interesting.
And to be fair, they're right to sensationalize this one because it was actually
pretty horrific.
Yeah, a murder.
Pretty horrific. So despite his sudden wealth, little was spent on Bessie's funeral. Smith chose the cheapest coffin available, refused to pay for a private plot, so Bessie was buried in a common grave. Now, this is a woman who was wealthy, had money, and her father gave her that money. So for her to be in the cheapest coffin available, and he boasted about it as well at the time, and he didn't put her in a private plot, and she was buried in a common grave. Do you know what he also did? He returned the bath to the ironmonger and secured a refund. I don't know what he said, but he got his money back. So he thinks he's committed the perfect crime. We'll go into this. But he'd overlooked one thing. Unbeknown to him, and this will become relevant later on, Bessie was holding a bar of soap in her right hand when she died, and the doctor made a note at the time that her fingers remained clamped tightly around the bar of soap. This clue later proved crucial in securing a conviction. Shall I move on?
I mean, I'm still processing that soap caught the killer, but yes.
So we've got one wife dead, several wives with no money.
One genuine wife who is abandoned.
One genuine wife abandoned, several bigamist relationships and women just with no money. Or all the money taken from him. And his original wife, Caroline, went to Canada, but she served time for obviously stealing from her employers. So he does have that first original wife, who is still his wife, who he never divorced. So we've got Bessie sadly died, as we know, in the bathtub. Just over a year later, in October 1913, Smith met Alice Burnham, a 25-year-old nurse from Southport. Now he's 41 at this time, and he met a 25-year-old nurse from Southport. He introduced himself as John Lloyd.
So all of these women, they don't even have a chance in hell of finding him.
No, exactly.
It's pre-internet, obviously, but also he's got a million aliases.
Well, exactly. And he's obviously done that because he doesn't want to get caught.
Yeah, of course.
He introduced himself as John Lloyd. The next month, Alice and Smith were married, and on their wedding day, on the 4th of November, Smith persuaded her to take out a life insurance policy of £600, which was the equivalent of £85,000 in today's money.
I'm sorry. Let's get married and
start a life. On the same day, can you take out a life insurance policy? Wouldn't like alarm bells ring?
What? This guy needs to calm his tits. What's the rush?
Well, because he wanted to get rid of them, get the money. Presumably, he had debts, and he wanted to spend money and then move on. Yeah. So that was the 4th of November. Took out the life insurance policy. They then had a delayed honeymoon. So they didn't have their honeymoon until December. And I don't know why it was delayed. Maybe he was having fun with her. Maybe they, genuinely liked each other.
Maybe they just couldn't get the annual leave,
Maybe they couldn't get the annual leave, but it took a few weeks. She couldn't get the time off because she was a nurse. She was a clever girl.
There you go.
So they went to Blackpool in December on their delayed honeymoon. Smith found them rooms with Margaret Crossley. Okay, so she had a boarding house, and he wanted to find a boarding house with, can you guess what?
Very steep stairs. A bathtub.
A
Oops. I
bathtub.
changed my answer.
Stairs. You've changed
I
your
don't know. I forgot. I forgot what's
your
happening here.
weapon of
I think
torture.
I've
So
revealed too much.
we've revealed too
Carry
much.
on.
He wanted a boarding house with a bath. He then took Alice straight away to the local doctor, claiming that she was suffering from persistent headaches. You see a pattern?
Does she know she's suffering from headaches?
She's not suffering from headaches, but he's convinced her that she's suffering from headaches. Takes her to the doctor on the evening of Friday, December the 12th, 3 days after they arrived in Blackpool. Mrs. Crossley, who's the lady that owns the boarding house, noticed small drops of water seeping through her kitchen ceiling while Alice, Smith's wife, was having a bath upstairs. Shortly after noticing it, like we're talking within like a couple of minutes, shortly after noticing these drops of water, Smith appeared in Mrs. Crossley's kitchen, struck up a conversation, asking if the 2 eggs that he's just purchased could be used for their breakfast in the morning. As in, could Mrs. Crossley make them breakfast in the morning for him and his wife, these 2 eggs, right?
So he's come in with 2 eggs.
Yep, having a chat,
Okay.
like nothing's going on. Can you make these for breakfast in the morning? He also discussed his desire to view the city fire engine in the morning. So making out that everything's normal, he hung around for several minutes, presumably to give himself an alibi. Shortly afterwards, he went upstairs. Mrs. Crossley and her husband and daughter heard Smith call Alice's name through the bathroom door. He did that a couple of times. Mrs. Crossley got worried, so she went to see what the matter was. She went to the top of the stairs to see what was going on. And Smith shouted, "Fetch Dr. Billing," because Dr. Billing was the doctor that they'd went to because of the headache. Dr. Billing lived close by and had treated Alice for headaches 3 days previously. Dr. Billing quickly determined that Alice was dead. He couldn't say for how long she'd been dead in the bathtub. Mrs. Crossley said that Smith was hard-hearted and didn't seem to care that his wife was dead. She told him that she didn't want him to stay the night in her home. And Smith said no, he wanted to stay in the room that he'd paid for with his dead wife under a sheet. Mrs. Crossley stood her ground and said, "Nope, you're not staying in my house." So he went to a house next door.
He must have given off such bad vibes for this woman to be like, "I know your wife just died, but I'm going to kick you out."
Because he was really arrogant. Remember, he's arrogant.
Yeah. But then he said, "No, I'm going to stay here because I paid for it and I'm going to sleep here with my dead wife."
Under a sheet.
Okay. And sorry, I just needed to make sure I understood that.
I've paid for this room. I am staying in it. My dead wife's in it under a sheet. I don't care. I'm staying in the room that I'm paid for. Mrs. Crossley said, "You're absolutely not staying here. Get out." And Mrs. Crossley stood her ground, as I said, and Smith commented to her, "When they are dead, they're dead." And he went next door and stayed in another guest house next door. Anyway, and he came back the next day because the lovely Sergeant Robert Valiant of the Blackpool Borough Police Force came round to take a statement from the husband, George Joseph Smith.
Are you saying lovely because he is actually lovely or because he's awful?
No, Sergeant Valiant is lovely because he actually says some really interesting stuff about Smith and
okay,
the way that
so he's our case crush. You know, I love having a case crush.
Exactly. Oh, we've got a few case crushes. There are a few.
Okay.
Robert Valiant, Sergeant Robert Valiant, to give his full name, is our case crush. And he basically said that Smith, when he was taking the statement from him, Smith showed no feeling when dealing with the tragedy of the evening, stating he found him callous and in no way disturbed. When Sergeant Valiant asked Smith if he was going to take his wife home to bury her, Smith said, "I'll just bury her here." My means are very limited. The next day, Smith ordered the cheapest coffin he could find, commenting, when they're dead, they are done with. So this is his new bride, his 25-year-old nurse, who's tragically died in a bathtub. And when they're dead, they're done with.
I mean, I kind of agree with that, but it still seems very cruel.
There's another inquest. Dr. Billing was asked to present his findings, and he also did the autopsy. And they theorized that Alice had drowned probably through being seized by a fit or a faint. And remember, she had those headaches.
Can I just ask, how many inquests have you been in your life?
None.
Same. So this guy, he's now what, in his 30s, and he's been to like 3 or 4?
No, he's 41. He's 41 at this point when Alice dies. Still. This is his second official inquest. And the cause of death was accidental. Surprise, surprise. Do you want to know what her lovely dad said at her inquest?
I don't know.
At her inquest. He's lovely. And he's instrumental in this piece of shit getting caught.
Okay, then yes, he's my case crush also. Yeah.
So her father said at her inquest, and that was quoted in the Times in December the 16th, 1913. My daughter was in good health and good spirits, and there was no reason whatever why she would take her own life.
So was there a debate about whether she had committed whether she had killed herself?
I think that it was obviously talked about at the time, because you've got a 25-year-old girl who's died in a bathtub. The cause of death was accidental, and the dad's basically saying at the inquest, like, she's not taking her own life, like she wouldn't do that. She was in good spirits, like she wouldn't do that. Although at the same time, on the same day, the Times also said a young wife found dead, drowned in a bathtub, and inquest opened. So it's obviously being like really sensationalized. But again, cause of accidental death. So Smith collected on her life insurance, but not before ordering the undertaker to put her in a public grave, but don't tell her mother. Okay.
Don't tell her mother where she's buried.
That she's in a public grave.
But that must mean don't tell her where she's buried at all.
Presumably. So he's got no regard for these women. He's got no regard for human life. He's got no regard for women. Like, for me, and I tried to research this, what is his problem with women? What is his, like, it's the cruelty. You gave me an STI, getting them to part with their money for fake ventures that he doesn't have. They hand over the money, then he leaves. But it's time and time again. And like, he's escalating. But
the fact that he can't even, for his own increased chances of getting away with it, he can't even bear to live with them longer than a week. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's very, very fast.
He must,
and even like Bessie Munday, hate women,
these women, yeah.
And even Bessie Munday, he was with her, told her that she had an STI, but that was only when he found out that he couldn't get the inheritance. So he left her. 18 months later, he comes back, and then she's dead within a week. So it's like, so he's probably not spent more than 10 days with her, over the course of their marriage, which was almost like 19 months, but he only spent those like 10-day period.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to Margaret Lofty now. So he's now posing as a moneyed land agent called John Lloyd. Smith met Margaret Lofty in Bath, interestingly, in November 1914.
He's hanging out in the West Country, isn't he?
He's hanging out in the West Country. So he met her in Bath in November 1914, and they married on December the 18th, 1914. So within a month, he married her. On the same day, she had her life insured for £700, which is the equivalent of £103,000. Guess how long it took for him to kill her?
3 days.
24 hours. So he marries her on December the 18th. He's dead in less than 24 hours.
He's got like a compulsion. I know it's financial to an extent, but it's not just a clear business decision here because he's not acting rationally.
But he's insuring them and then getting the money. So he's not only now looking at women that are wealthy of independent means, like Bessie was, you know, and he couldn't access her money because it was in trust. So he had to take out life insurance. He had to, like, she had to put him, you know, in the will, but he's wanting money fast. So he's had women hand over money, but in order to get large amounts of money, he's having to take out insurance policies. So,
oh my God, is he the reason why you have to wait 14 days for your insurance to actually kick in?
oh,
Because I was thinking there's no way they
yeah.
would pay out if he only had the policy for
No.
24 hours.
I know, right? That is interesting. That is interesting. We have to research that. But the couple began their brief honeymoon, no shit, Sherlock, in Highgate,
Half a
North
day.
London. Half a day.
Ugh.
But guess what they did?
Cemetery?
Smith took his new wife to a local doctor on their wedding night.
You're sick. I can tell you're sick. I'm going to take you to a doctor.
Yeah. Like Alice Burnham, she was said to be suffering headaches.
You know all those headaches you're getting? No. Oh no, but you're always talking about them. I haven't had a headache in years.
Yes, you
Yeah,
have.
I'm going to take you to the doctor. I've only known you for 2 weeks. Why do you think I've got persistent headaches?
I know. This one is really sad because there was a witness.
A witness?
Of sorts, yeah. There's a witness of sorts.
Let me guess. They heard something.
Exactly. They heard
ear
something.
Witness, we'll call
An
it.
ear witness.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Alice Burnham, Margaret Lofty was said to be suffering headaches, which is bullshit. The following evening, their landlady, Louisa Blatch, was ironing in her kitchen when the sound of splashing came from the bathroom above. This was followed by the noise of wet hands rubbing along the side of the bath and then a sigh.
Ew.
Exactly. A few minutes later, Mrs. Blatch heard the hymn, Nearer My God to Thee, being played on the harmonium, which is a kind of keyboard, in the Lloyd's sitting room, Smith's sitting room. So he'd basically killed his wife, gone into the sitting room, and then played for 10 minutes the hymn, Nearer My God to Thee.
Wait, was he playing the harpsichord?
Yeah, the harmonium.
Sorry. Yeah. I just need to tell a little story about when you and I had to, in a work capacity, when we were getting letters after our names.
Oh, yeah.
Letters after our names. But we had to go to a service in church. And I'm a big fat atheist. I'm
Priory
pretty sure
church, yeah. I'm an atheist. You know this.
Yes. So I
like all the ceremony and the pomp. I love all of that.
I'm not, yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to be prejudiced towards a Christian or whatever, but it's not something I believe in. And if I'm invited to a party and it involves a bit of churching, I will go. But because there's always wine. That's one good thing about like Christians. They like their wine. And I do too. But
you say this as a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, my family are Catholic. Palestinian, and people always ask us, when did you convert? And it's like, when did you fucking convert? We gave you Jesus. It's from my end. But so I stay silent during the hymns. I don't know the songs anyways, and I stay silent during the prayers. But your approach, I don't know if you remember this. You were gonna say the prayers and sing the songs, but because you're an atheist, the compromise you found in your mind was that instead of God, you were going to say cod.
Yep.
Like you were
with the word
in some kind of ceremony worshipping cod.
It was brilliant.
I've never known anyone to love cod that much.
I love cod. Cod and chips. Love it. I totally forgotten about that.
I laugh about it all the time. All the time. So because you were saying I don't want to be disrespectful and not sing or not say the prayers, and I was like, so you're saying God instead of God?
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should have changed. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have.
Oh no, I love it. You should never do anything different than just be you because you're beautiful and amazing. But do you want to go back and tell me some more about the murder?
Yes, so he's fiddling about with his harmonium. Once he's finished playing this 10-minute little ditty of Nearer My God Today, the front door slams, and then he appears at the front door, knocking on it a few times. A few minutes later, knocking on the door, explaining that he had popped out to buy some tomatoes for his wife's supper, but had
Mm-hmm.
forgotten his key. So you see, he's trying to create like a scene, a
Yeah.
scenario where he's
Would
not
I be
there.
buying tomatoes for her dinner if I was killing her? No.
Exactly. Would I spend 10 minutes playing a lovely song on the harmonium, So he was trying to prove that he was anywhere but the bathroom, right? When his wife died. So
Mm-hmm.
on the afternoon of Sunday, the 3rd of January, 1915, the following article appeared in the News of the World. And I have this article and I'm going to read it to you.
Oh my God.
From Sunday, 3rd of January, 1915, from the News of the World. Okay, are you ready? Got the whole
Mm-hmm.
article in front of me. The title of the article is Found Dead in Bath. Bride's Tragic Fate on Day After Wedding. Particularly sad circumstances under which a bride of a day met her death were investigated at an Islington inquest on Margaret Elizabeth Lloyd, 38, wife of a land agent of Holloway. The husband said he was married to the deceased at Bath. After travelling to London, she complained of a headache and giddiness, and he took her to a medical man.
A doctor, a
A
medical
doctor, I
man.
know. I think it's quite quaint, all these terms.
Yeah.
Who prescribed for her. The following morning, she had said that she felt much better, and during the day she went out shopping. At 7:30 in the evening, she said she would have a bath, and she then appeared cheerful. Quarter of an hour later, the witness went out and returned at 8:15, expecting to see her in the sitting room. As she was not there, he inquired of the landlady, and they went to the bathroom, which was in darkness. He lit the gas and then found his wife under the water, the bath being 3 parts full. The next day, a witness found a letter amongst the deceased's clothing, but there was nothing in it to suggest that she was likely to take her life. I think that's just a comment that there was a letter and stuff, or like maybe there was something about this letter and she had left a note, but I couldn't find anything about it.
But basically, they've considered whether these women have killed themselves.
Yes, exactly, which makes sense. Like it's unusual circumstances, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
They absolutely didn't. So he might have killed yet more innocent women if Alice Burnham's father. Do you remember the guy who
Yeah.
said that she didn't like he didn't like he'd weird eyes and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
If Alice Burnham's father had not read the newspaper reports, that one in particular about Margaret Loftie's death. Now, remember Margaret Crossley, who had the boarding house that Alice, the 25-year-old nurse, died in? Her husband, Joseph, was also reading the same article as Alice's dad and thought something is a bit up here. Something's not right here.
Did they put in a picture or because
They
he's
didn't
using
have a
different names?
picture. They didn't have a
So it's
picture, and it was a different name.
so it's purely because these women are dying so soon after being married in a bathtub that they're like,
Correct.
okay.
Exactly. And they're
I
like, what's
love
going
these
on?
amateur detectives.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Honestly, this Joseph Crossley guy is a legend. And there's so much
Yeah.
more information on him, and Alice's dad as well is just a legend too. So
Fantastic.
suspicious about the similarities between Margaret's demise, if you will, and that of his daughter Alice, Alice's father Charles alerted the police. Joseph Crossley, who had the guest house with his wife Margaret, felt compelled to write to Scotland Yard too, as he was so discomforted by the similarities in the case. And he even cut up the newspaper articles from when Alice died and then this latest one in the News of the World and sent them to Scotland Yard.
And then they gave him a job because they were
They gave
like,
him a job and said, "You are amazing.
You're the best detective we've ever seen."
Exactly. So their letters would launch one of the most elaborate investigations in Britain up to that time, spanning more than 40 towns and resulting in statements from 150 witnesses. Now, you'll be pleased to hear, Dee, I don't have all the statements of the
You're going to
witnesses.
quote each and every one of them. Yeah. Okay.
I will quote a few things, but I think we can put
Yeah,
in the
please.
show notes all the links to various things. It's really interesting. Now, interestingly, Smith was arrested, not for the murders. He was arrested in February 1915 as he visited his solicitors to discuss Margaret Lofty's will, so his third wife's will. He was arrested as he was leaving the solicitors by Detective Inspector Arthur Neal of Y Division. They only had him for falsifying marriage certificates, but the murder charges would follow. But presumably they arrested him to protect any other women as they built their case.
To get him in there, question him.
Exactly.
Nice.
So they've grabbed him and they're questioning him. And they were sure that Smith had killed the three brides, but they needed proof, but they wanted him out.
Yeah, because he was operating fast.
He was operating fast, like 24 hours for one of them.
Yeah,
you know?
And he was marrying them within weeks.
Exactly.
And then killing them within days at this point, right?
Exactly. But we have a problem though. All three deaths individually looked like accidental drowning. So no one on their own would arouse like massive, suspicion, especially if the women had a history of headaches or epileptic fits. It was just
a history from earlier that day. But yeah,
exactly. So Neil, the police officer, he turned to pathologist. And I don't know if you know this name, Bernard Spilsbury, a name that would become legendary.
No, I feel like I wouldn't remember that name.
So, no evidence was found in the three cases of foul play, but Home Office pathologist Bernard Spilsbury, I'm just going to call him Bernard because I like that over his surname.
Not Spilsbury. I'm going to call him Spilsbury. Okay.
I'm going to say Bernard. Home Office pathologist Bernard was struck by the fact that Bessie Mundy was still holding on to a bar of soap when she died. Remember that one?
Yes, Soapgate. Okay, yeah.
We'll go back to that first one with Bessie, because obviously they've got him in custody now. They know that he was married 3 times. They know that he falsified the wedding certificate. Like, he's a bigamist, whatever. But he was saying, that they're not convicting him or arresting him for murder because they don't have any evidence, right? So they're going back through all 3 cases. So Bessie Mundy was still holding on to a bar of soap when she died. If she had really suffered a fainting fit, as her inquest suggested, her hand would have relaxed and let go of the soap.
And if there's anything that Edwardians and Victorians know about, it's having fainting fits.
Exactly. And then smelling salts to get them back up again.
Exactly. The vapors. Oh my God, this is genius. And I love this guy. Spilsbury.
It is okay. We'll call him Spilsbury because you want to call him Spilsbury, not Bear. But Spilsbury. So that bar of soap thing was the kind of the moment that they're like, okay, we need to look at this further. This is the bit. This is what we're holding on to, as she was. Anyway, so that suggested that by implication, the other woman had died very suddenly without time to put up a fight. So, but the big question was how. So the theory that Spilsbury talked about in court was that Smith had pulled the legs sharply out of the bath, sending their head underwater so fast that consciousness was lost instantly. So what he would do, he would go in and he would talk nicely to his new brides, maybe play with their feet, rub their feet, whatever. We all love a foot rub, Dee. And he would grab their legs and he would tug them so hard that they were so shocked their heads would go under the water. Now, modern science gives this some credibility. So the rushing of water down the throat could put pressure on the vagus, one of the main nerves in the neck, causing a rapid slowing down of the heart rate and an instant faint. Most people would not die, but most people were not submerged in water. So they would pretty much instantly
Faint and then drown.
but drown.
How did he even know to do that? Maybe he thought it was going to be more of a struggle and he just found his knack. I don't know. I
I
don't
know
know. I just,
it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So at the Old Bailey, Spilsbury showed the jury exactly how Smith did it. The press at the time called it the most dramatic demonstration they had ever seen. Let me read to you what they did.
I mean, I feel like there's not that many live demos at the Old Bailey. So the most dramatic is
Yeah.
probably quite easy win, you know?
So they obviously couldn't get, so they got a lady swimmer, a female swimmer who was, I suppose, the equivalent of like near Olympic swimmer. She was extremely good, but they couldn't set up a bathtub in the middle of the Old Bailey and have a lady, especially of that time, wearing a swimming costume. So they sent the jurors to an adjoining building and set it up there. And this is what happened.
Oh, God.
I obtained the assistance of a very fine lady swimmer and one used to diving, plunging, and swimming from early girlhood. The baths were filled, and in each one, demonstrations were given by this young lady in a swimming costume in many positions. 2 demonstrations took place with the young lady swimmer, one in a bath at full length, pressed down by the forehead. In this position, although helpless, the arms can be thrown out to clutch the sides of the bath. Nevertheless, a strong pressure on the forehead would occasion suffocation and insensibility within a few seconds. On the other hand, a demonstration by myself and my sergeants on her nearly proved fatal. So they were obviously trying to replicate it. Right. It was then decided to test sudden immersion. So that's the yanking really fast of the legs. So from the ankle, I lifted up her legs very suddenly. She slipped under easily, but to me, who was closely watching, she seemed to make no movement. Suddenly, I gripped her arm and it was limp. With a shout, I tugged at her armpit and raised her head above the water. It fell over to one side. She was unconscious, like instantly. For nearly half an hour, my detectives and I worked on her with artificial respiration and restoratives. So this is how quickly this woman knew this was going to happen, and she was unconscious. And it took them half an hour to get her to gain consciousness again. She almost died. Things began to look serious, he said. Then a quick change began to take place, and her pretty face began to take on the natural bloom of a young, healthy woman.
Oh, good. At least she's still pretty.
Oh, thank goodness. Rosy cheeks. It had all given us a turn. I'm sure it had given her a turn as well.
Yeah.
So practical demonstration in baths were from that moment promptly discontinued. She told us afterwards that immediately she went under the water with her legs in the air and the water just rushed into her mouth and up her nostrils. That was all that she knew, and she remembered no more until she came to and saw all of her anxious faces bending over her. So you can see how quickly that sort of happened, like how
Got
quickly that happened.
waterboarded.
It's awful, right? Absolutely awful. So a headline in the Daily Mail on June the 23rd, 1915 read, Brides in the Bath, How the Murders Were Done. Okay, demonstration by experts. Can you imagine? I would love all this stuff now, like just watch all that stuff. The article quoted Spilsbury's words to the jury. I am of the opinion that all 3 women met their deaths in the same way, by sudden submersion when seized by the fate. This was the first time that similar fact evidence to the idea that a repeated method proves guilt secured a British murder conviction. So groundbreaking forensic work by Spilsbury and his team and inventive legal arguments using pattern evidence were crucial to convicting him. The case remains a classic example of early 20th century forensic and legal innovation in England. So, the verdict. The brides in the bath case, Smith found guilty, sentence of death. That was the front page of the Times on July the 1st, 1915. The jury only needed 20 minutes to convict him.
And like I always say, some of that must be admin. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. So,
can I just, before we move on, we need to have a sip of our wine and discuss the fact that we need to have Spilsbury merch.
Spilsbury merch, Spilsbury hero merch. Seriously
Yeah.
though, Dee, like, can you imagine? Like, it was weeks working out how they could convict this guy. They knew that he had done it. They knew that he'd done it. They knew.
And I want to shout out to the pretty swimmer.
Oh yeah.
Who we don't know her name because
I'll find her name.
But what a legend, because she's obviously signed up to do this thing, and they've said, "Look, you might get hurt in this demo."
You might get hurt.
I want to get this fucking asshole. I'm all over this. Bless her.
But what I think is really interesting was that at the time, like I said, it was a problem for a young. I'm just reading an article from the time. It was a problem for a young woman wearing a bathing costume. It was hardly appropriate in an English court of law. So the jury were taken to a private room where the bath was filled.
That's not the story, guys. This is a typical fucking distraction techniques, right? You know, when you're like, oh, sorry, is a woman in a swimsuit shocking? Not the murders of three women.
Not the murderer. So interestingly, he was convicted. However, Smith scornfully interrupted the judge during the summing up, declaring his innocence. I am not a murderer, he said, but he was doomed. It took the jury a little more than 20 minutes to find him guilty. He was led away under sentence of death. He also tried to appeal. They were overruled. Smith was hanged at Maidstone Prison on August 13th, 1915. Would you like to see a copy of his execution record? Because I find it fascinating.
Yes, I would want to see that. Because first of all, I need you to explain to me what an execution record even is. Is it just the form you fill when you fucking hanged someone? Is it actually filled out by the executioner?
So what you do is you measure their height, their weight, information about them. You measure how long the rope needs to be. So obviously you can't have a rope that's too long because they'll hit the ground. So all of those measurements, you then have several official people that then say, yes, they did their job properly. And then that person says that person did their job properly. And what I find really fascinating is this actual execution document was up for auction, like I think it was 2019. It was sold at an auctioneer's, and I was like, oh, I wonder if it's still available, but it had been sold. But I just think it's so interesting. It was only sold for like 300 quid, and I just think that's an interesting factoid, an interesting thing to have. Right, let me share with you.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to see the headed notepaper.
It's so interesting. Here we go. Can you see records of an execution carried out in Maidstone Prison, 15th of August? Is that 1915?
So you have to fill in, there's a gap. So you could fill in what prison. So Maidstone's been handwritten in, as has the date. Then obviously the name of the person, Joseph Smith. Oh, he's quite tall. Is that 6'8"?
So it says the length of the drop as determined before the execution. Yeah.
Okay, he's not 6'8".
No, he's 5 feet.
He's 5'7.5". Yeah. Okay. And so then they work out the rope length. Fuck. How much he weighs obviously is important. What's that thing what does it say under his height?
So that says build.
Proportionate?
It says proportionate, yeah. And then it says weight, which I think it says, does that say 161 pounds? Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
And then it says character. of the prisoner's body or something. So it just says that he's got no scars or anything.
Hmm.
And then it's got the length of the drop after the execution, because obviously it's pulled, so it's
Oh
two
God,
inches
yeah.
longer. But it says cause of death. Can you see that one?
No, I can't read it. I can't read the handwriting
Complete.
because all of
Yeah, it's like they always have really lovely handwriting, don't they? It's almost like italics. It's complete dislocation of the vertebrae. I know.
And
And
what is that
then
underneath?
bruising only, no abrasions. So they looked around his neck and he just had bruising but no abrasions. And then any other peculiarities, none. And then you've got the two people that actually were the executioner and the assistant. Now, do you
Who's the
know
executioner?
his name's John Ellis? And you know that John Ellis was like so interesting. I don't know if it says on here. So John Ellis was actually, I think he ran
The
a news
last
agent.
executioner?
Well,
Oh,
he ran
sorry.
a news agents as well as being the executioner.
Well, I guess because before the death penalty is ruled out in any area, city, country, state, or whatever, it's
Mm.
normally on the decline for quite a long time before they rule it out, right? Because
Yeah, so
people are
people have to
turning
have other
against it.
jobs, right?
Yeah, so it's not like towards the end you'd be a full-time executioner anymore, right? So yeah, it
Completely.
makes sense. He's got to supplement his income, and why not? But
Yeah, no.
imagine going in and be like, "Oh, I have a pack of fags and a paper,
Oh, there's the
John."
guy that lobbed
It's
off
like, "Ah,
George
you
Joseph
weren't
Smith's
you
head,
weren't in yesterday." Oh yeah, I was just killing someone.
right?
I was
I
I
know,
was executioning yesterday.
I know. And then the assistant was Edward, I think that's Dayton. I mean, it gives their addresses as well. I think one's in Rochester, one's in Brighton or something. But then it's then says opinion of the governor and medical officer as to the manner in which each of the above named persons has performed their duty. So have they performed their duty satisfactorily?
So it's a record of the
Mm,
hanging, but also an appraisal of the work of the executioner and his assistant.
exactly.
That feels like it should be two separate forms. I don't
I
know.
know. It's like,
Okay,
yes,
fine.
you performed your duty well. Have they shown, just have they
What are
done
they
their
being
job?
assessed on? What are they being assessed on?
Okay. This one says, is there any ground for supposing
Supposing that he will bring discredit
upon the
upon.
office
Okay, so
by
something about, oh,
lecturing or granting interviews to persons who may not work for the organization? So I suppose it's like, is he going to talk to people about what's going on
hmm,
and do interviews? So it's a record to make sure. I mean, I think it's really interesting because it's obviously got
it's
his weight and his height,
fascinating.
his
I didn't
age, and
even know this
everything.
record existed.
Yeah, so this happens with all executions. There's an execution record, and attached to it, there's a bit more information as well, which I just think is like so interesting. Anyway, so as we said, Smith was hanged in Maidstone Prison August 13th, 1915. He screamed with the bag over his head, saying that he wasn't guilty, he was innocent, he didn't murder anyone. As I've said, the brides and the bathtub murders changed forensic science forever. They made Spilsbury a household name. He became known as the father of British criminal pathology. We need to have
I
t-shirts.
mean, he's now known in my household of me, and I love Spilsbury. Yep.
Spilsbury merch. So we should remember Bessie Munday, Alice Burnham, and Margaret Lofty, and all the women who he fleeced and took money from, and they all deserve to live long lives. And sadly, they didn't because of one man's complete and utter disregard for human life and his own selfishness.
I mean, obviously the murders are horrendous, but all the other women would have faced like stigma for being left by their husband.
Yeah,
I mean, some of
exactly.
them might not have even put together who they were married to for five
Well,
minutes. And
I know,
maybe
like,
when the case came out, but even then, it's not like, you shared the photo. It's like, it's more like a drawing. Uh, I don't know.
can you imagine meeting someone and you and
no.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that women are desperate. Women are not desperate, but at the time when a lot of eligible men were going overseas.
And it was incredibly difficult to be a single woman.
Women, exactly, in terms of
Yeah.
owning your own, like having your own property and wealth and everything. You can
Yeah.
absolutely see how you like prey on these people, but also you can see how for some women their guard might be slightly down, or they might think,
Yeah.
here's a
When they tell
man,
you I have a bakery, you're going to be like, well, you must be a
yeah,
good person. You make
I'm a
cakes.
businessman, I've got a bakery. And don't think that he didn't use some. So, one of the other things that I read, he was a bit of a flashy dresser. So, if you see a guy turning up and he had very colorful bow ties, he was known for his colorful bow ties. So, if he turns up, snappy dresser, says that he's a businessman, says that he's a painting restorer, says that he's got a bakery, you're not going to ask to see any legal documents.
No.
You're not going to ask anything. And then if he proposes to you,
Yeah. You're going to be like, okay, I'm settled. I've got my security. It reminds me of the Tinder swindler, which I'm sure you saw as well. Um,
yes.
and because people were so a lot of people were understanding, but a lot of people were like, how do these smart women even fall for this shit? Because one of them got picked up for her first date on a private jet. Why would you question someone's
I
financial
know,
situation when they
right?
pick you up in a private
Hmm.
jet? She didn't know, obviously, that he paid for that private jet with money that he
Got
stole
somewhere
and,
else.
swindled out of someone else. But, of course you're going to fucking not question this.
Mm. But it's exactly the same though, because he's got huge amounts of money
Yeah,
from these
of course he's
women.
spending them on his little snazzy bow ties to attract the next victim. Exactly that.
Well, exactly. And I think that, hats off to that police officer, was Albert Neal, because he straight away put him in prison, arrested him for the bigamy charge. And he did that because he knew that he would then go, like, he was such a fast mover, he could have killed other women.
Yeah, and too much of a coincidence. This detective knew he was a murderer as well because it's too much of a coincidence. Oh, I faked my name and my documents and my marriages, but they just died by coincidence, you know?
Exactly. But there was no proof until obviously this
Spilsbury.
forensic Spilsbury, Bernard Spilsbury, we love him.
I bet he's studied by every criminologist, forensic scientist.
We'll get Sergeant Valiant, we've got Inspector Neil, Detective Inspector Neil, and we've got Bernard Spilsbury. All
And
great
no,
people
but
in
the
this.
dad.
The dad, yeah, I know Alice
This
Burnham's
is
dad.
okay. So look, this is an episode of a really horrible man, but also a bunch of really awesome men.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And like, is it Joseph Crosley who had the guest house with his wife Margaret? So yeah,
Mm,
exactly. So there's men there who have gone, we need
well
to
done,
find who
team.
this is. We need to
I like
find
to
this.
think that they high-fived when he hung.
Oh, I didn't tell you. And the interesting thing is, remember his first wife that moved to Canada?
Yes. Where did she come back from?
She came back to watch the trial. She wanted to see him hang, and she got her wish.
I can tell you that if my ex-husband was ever tried for even the smallest thing and it was going to court, I will be fucking front row.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Adam. How you doing? Yeah, that was fucking awesome. I'm so happy that you covered that because I'd heard
Thank
about
you.
it. I love an old-timey case. Heard about it but didn't know very much about it.
Well, there is a movie with Martin Kemp in it.
I love Martin Kemp.
It's called The Brides in the Bath, and it's got Martin Kemp in it and Richard Griffiths.
Cool. I might watch that
Hmm.
tonight.
I think I might watch
Um,
that tonight. Oh,
you know who also loves Martin Kemp?
who?
Colin Sutton. Because
Of
Martin
course he
Kemp was in
does.
Spandau Ballet, right? Because
Yeah.
Gold is his favorite song.
Gold.
Go. No, don't sing anymore because we can't afford it. So, palate cleanser,
Hang on.
Inquisition.
Hang on. I need my ice. I need my wine.
All right, wait. I told you, didn't I? You can have a sip of wine with your clunky ice while I'm talking so that I can mute you and post edit. But between the ice and the airplanes and the heat and the whatever, just drink. We'll deal with the repercussions tomorrow.
I won't. You will.
Well, you've probably got some adulting to do tomorrow, and I predict a hangover for you.
I am working tomorrow in my lovely shop.
Adulting is hard.
I know.
Okay.
Right, I'm so excited. Who have we got?
Okay, we've got. Well, first of all, let me show you how flexible I am, and also
What's that?
my new Hannibal Lecter tattoo.
That's amazing. Can you stand up the other way?
No,
Oh,
absolutely not.
is that
What I'll
because
do
I'm
is
seeing your bottom?
I'll screenshot. No,
I
it's because
didn't know
I'm
you
not.
were getting that. When did you get that?
We literally talked about it on the podcast. How I was
Oh,
talking
that
about.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I went with Hannibal Lecter because Silence of the Lambs was a very formative film for me because I saw it when I was 11, under curfew in Jerusalem, under military occupation. And something about those combination of those events fucked me up so much so that I became obsessed with true crime, horror films, etc., etc. Some of you might be able to hear Madame Lola. Can you hear Madame Lola?
Yeah, very much. She is not happy at something, is she?
Let me mute while I call her in.
Is someone breaking into your house, Dee? Can you just check?
Do you know what's happened? Someone's walked past the fence. We have what we call the Inquisition as our palate cleanser at the end of an episode, so we don't just like press stop record and go and cry in a corner. And that is where we ask people to submit their tattoos for our judgment. We like a story with a tattoo with like a backstory, or it could just be a tattoo that I was like, that you're like, this is fucking ridiculous, so I put it on my body for life. Whatever. We like all sorts. This one's really fun because it's from our dear friend Barney.
Oh, he's got loads.
He's got loads. Barney of Sonic Boom 6 fame. Check Sonic Boom 6 out there. Awesome. If you like
He's got such a good voice, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's sort of like punky, a little bit of rappy, ska type, just fucking awesome. I'm sure he's got a way of describing his own band, but I can't think of it right now. But do check him out. I'll pop links in the show notes as well. But the fun thing is that this is a tattoo that Barney and I got together.
Huh?
So we went to Leeds for a festival last year sometime. We went to Handfest. Now, some of you might know that I have my significant fruit and veg leg.
I love how Diana's trying to show off her leg. There you go. Oh my God, there's
These
a
are
lot of
fruits and veg that are significant to me.
Yeah.
Including, describe what you see here.
Pumpkin. Avocado.
Yeah, but the pumpkin is what I want to talk to you about today because Barney and I got our pumpkin at Leeds Handfest. Shout out to Random Hand, another amazing band, and all that they do for the music scene. But here, this is us. Everything's tying together. I have the tattoo. Barney has the tattoo, and this is us in York for Yorktoberfest.
I remember this now.
Oh, good. I'm glad you do, because I do not remember this. But here we are. What you've got here is me dressed in a, what are they called? It's not a dirtle.
Dirtle. Yeah, it is a dirtle. Dirtle.
Like Yorktoberfest, Oktoberfest fucking costume.
Oktoberfest in York.
With blonde braids. And Barney is also wearing blonde braids, but nothing else Oktoberfesty.
No, nothing else.
He has his trousers around his ankles. I'll post this on social media. I'm sure he'll be fine with it.
He won't care.
And we're trying to show you our tattoos of this pumpkin. Mine is called Bumhole Bastard, which some of you might know is a shout out to Baby Reindeer, where she gets really mad at him for having gay sex with someone, I think. I think he was raped in this instance. I'm sorry, my memory's hazy, but she calls him a bumhole bastard. So mine is called Bumhole Bastard.
What's this from?
Baby Reindeer on Netflix.
And Barney's... I've still not seen that yet. I really want to watch it.
It's creepy. But Barney's is called Bastard Bumhole.
Oh, God.
And
I really want to watch that Baby Reindeer. So what
I
am I going to
think
watch tonight? Baby Reindeer or Brides in the Bath?
start with Brides in the Bath. Oh, maybe you need a break from Brides in the Bath because you'll be like, I know this.
But then I'll be
Watch
really
Baby Reindeer.
annoyed because there'll be something in it. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd put that in.
Yeah, that's why I think have a break from Brides in the Bath. Watch Baby Reindeer. It's like it's a really tough watch because it's almost comical until I think it's episode 3. There's
Right.
one episode which is just so dark and it's kind of out of the blue because like I said, the previous ones are almost like dark comedy but quite funny. So you've got to plow through that episode because it's a
Right.
tough watch.
Okay.
But it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And I'm really upset that Piers Morgan interviewed the real lady that was based off of.
Oh
Because I
God,
would have
yeah.
loved
I
to watch
know.
an interview with her, but I cannot bring myself to watch anything with Piers fucking Morgan.
I can't. I absolutely loathe and despise the guy.
Just the scum of the earth.
Can't.
Scum of the earth. How
And
much fun was your Oktoberfest?
Your Oktoberfest was fun. It was the dancing and it was fun. I wish there was more
Oh,
music though. I was a
no,
drag queen, remember?
there's a drag queen, and I just suddenly remembered that every now and then they taught us a chant. And like, not every now and then, every fucking 5 minutes, they made us stop and do this weird chant. Do you remember
Yeah, and then
that?
we had to stand up and do stuff. And then you were on Aaron's shoulders, remember? You were on Aaron's
No.
shoulders. What do you mean, no? You were on Aaron's shoulders up here. So you stood on a bench. He put his head under your noo lifted you up,
My journal,
girdle, and you're
journal.
on his shoulders. And then the bouncers guys come over and basically said he had to put you down, which was kind of fair enough because you were both really pissed.
Yeah.
But
I
because
mean,
he was
that's
like
happened
dancing.
on every time I've got on anyone's shoulders. Yeah. Oh,
It was
well,
fun. It was fun.
I've got to thank Aaron for even attempting that because I didn't
It
remember
was so
that at
much
all.
fun. But we get to see each other soon, Dee. I'm counting down the days.
Me too. I cannot wait because this episode's coming out way after Harrogate, but we're recording it just before Harrogate. So
Yeah.
we're just very excited because I haven't seen you in so long and I miss you so much.
So long.
I need a hug. I need
I
one of those
know.
awkward hugs where our tits touch and we just hold each other and then you think it's going to be over, but no, we then hold each other for at least another 45 seconds.
Oh my
That's
God,
what I
I
want.
hope this is not going to be in the podcast, but who cares?
No, anyone that's got a strong fucking friendship will totally get that.
I'm glad that you liked my episode.
I loved your
There's a
episode.
lot more stuff I could have put in, like loads of stuff, like 150 witnesses, statements, loads of stuff. But where do you stop? Do you read everything?
We're gonna put links to extra resources in the show notes if anyone wants to get lost in a wormhole.
Yeah.
And then next week is my episode, which is gonna possibly have to be a double because
Cool.
I'm
Does
gonna
that give me a
clue.
break then? Can I take longer to research another
Yeah,
one? Yeah.
you really can because it is one guy who might be one of the biggest assholes alive to this day.
I mean, I've got some thoughts, but
Yeah.
I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
I'll give you clues. I'll give you clues so you can try to guess next week.
Okay.
But yeah, what we want is for all of you to join us next week. We want you also to submit all of your crazy, silly, stupid, ugly, gorgeous tattoos to the Inquisition. And we also want you to love us forever and tell us we're awesome all the time because we live off of praise.
I live off of praise all the time. No, I don't, but I do.
No, we do. Hashtag ADHD. Love you guys.
Bye.
Sexy listeners. Bye. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Like this episode? Want more? Come visit me, Isla, at Crimley Good Books in the heart of York. We're an independent bookshop dedicated entirely to crime. From cosy mysteries to gritty thrillers, historical whodunits to juicy true crime. We've got signed editions, special gifts, and plenty of recommendations for your next obsession. We also host a bunch of awesome author events. Can't make it in person? Visit us online at crimleygoodbooks.co.uk.